When the Golden State Warriors used the second overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft on James Wiseman, I was very skeptical of the pick at the time. I didn't hate James Wiseman as a prospect. I had a first round grade on him, but I didn't think he was worth going second overall in the draft, considering I didn't think he had the skills that were required for a big man to go that high in the draft. However, despite what I thought, the Warriors believed he not only would be the center of the future, but also the future face of the franchise for the next timeline post-Stephen Curry. But due to a combination of injuries, lack of consistent minutes, and really not being a player ready to contribute on a team looking to contend around its top 2 point guard ever, Wiseman fell out of favor with the franchise and eventually would be out of the rotation, spending a lot of time in the G League. Recently, he has been traded to the Detroit Pistons, a team that has given him more consistent minutes, which has led to Wiseman producing at by far the best level of his NBA career. I decided to watch all 11 games of Wiseman in Detroit because I was interested in seeing how much of this was actually a result of progression and how much of this was about getting more opportunity. And the conclusion I came to is it's a little bit of both. In 11 games with the Detroit Pistons, James Wiseman is averaging 13.2 points per game and 8.9 rebounds per game. He's shooting 58.2% from the field and has a 59.9 true shooting percentage. Now, part of this is opportunity. He's taking the most field goal attempts per game of his career over these 11 games. He's getting the most consistent minutes he's probably gotten since high school. And I do think it's fair to say this production is a result of getting way more consistent opportunity. At the same time, I am encouraged by the tape as well. Wiseman is a massive human being. I've seen him play in person, and he's easily one of the biggest basketball players I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes, and that includes Giannis Antetokounmpo, who I've also seen in person. He's every bit of that 7 feet tall and 240 pounds, and he honestly might be a little bit taller than 7 feet. He also has really long arms with a 7'6" wingspan. He has the ideal frame for a center in modern basketball and basketball in general. Tall, long arms, and pretty filled out frame-wise from a strength perspective. On top of that, he's a pretty good athlete. He is a freakish straight-line speed runner. And I'll be honest, there aren't many 7-footers that do what Wiseman does as far as running the floor in a straight line north to south, which makes him a really good rim runner in transition. He's also a pretty good vertical athlete for a 7-footer as well. And he's not a good lateral mover. I would say that's still an area that isn't a strength in his game necessarily, but he has made real strides in this area since high school, and the improvement is evident on tape. I don't think he'll ever be a switch big that can defend multiple positions, but he has improved as a lateral athlete over the years. Just based off being one of the biggest NBA players and a really good athlete, he has the baseline for being an NBA player, and it does show up on tape. A lot of his best production comes from doing the traditional big man stuff, finishing in the paint, being a rim running threat in transition, being a roll man. And I think that's what Wiseman will have to continue to do in order to be a playable level center in the NBA rotation. He doesn't need to be a shot creator or shooter, even if he still tries to flash it every once in a while. The results, well, we'll get into that later. In my opinion, the key for Wiseman to find long-term success in the NBA is to just embrace being a play finisher, and a really good play finisher, because it's hard to stop 7 feet tall, 240 pounds, 7'6" wingspan with really good straight line speed in transition and in half-court settings as a play finisher. It's not going to be something that every NBA team can stop, and he does show a lot of those good signs on tape when you watch his time with the Detroit Pistons. Now, as far as shooting goes, I don't think will ever be a big part of his game. He does flash some potential in this area, and I will say, I don't think it will be an Andre Drummond or DeAndre Jordan level of bad when it comes to shooting ability. I do think he can hit an open jump shot, but for the most part, he does get a bit ambitious with his shot attempts from mid-range and three-point range. I do think this is a good situation to potentially develop into a respectable enough shooter to trust on wide open looks. But outside of wide open looks, I don't really see a world where James Wiseman makes three-point shooting and heavy mid-range shooting a big part of his game. Wiseman has some positive signs in his production and play finishing with Detroit, both in the stat sheet and on tape. But the thing that is still also very evident on tape is his lack of touch and his bad hands. His hands really aren't that good, which limits him as a lob threat despite his athleticism and height. This has been a problem really his entire career. Some of it is noticeable on lob attempts, but what I noticed on tape over these 11 games is him being unaware of help defenders who swipe the ball away from him on the block, and he also just doesn't have consistent touch either. He doesn't have a problem getting to the basket. He's big enough and strong enough to get to his spots. The problem is that once he gets to his spots, it's the touch that's really inconsistent. He has plays where he looks fine with his touch. Given he's shooting close to 60% from the field, it does make sense that he does flash ability to have good touch around the basket. But almost all of his misses within 10 feet are because of a lack of touch. Part of it is a bit of panic when he meets athletic bigs and forwards at the basket. Part of it is just not knowing how to adjust when his first move gets stopped. I do think with time and more consistent game speed reps, he can improve in this area. But as of right now, it is very noticeable on tape when you talk about his lack of hands when it comes to catching basketballs on lob situations or being unaware of help defenders, and his inconsistent touch around the basket. Because I'll be honest with you, I watch his tape and I feel like he could be shooting like 65 to maybe 70% from the field if he had more consistent touch around the basket. I think Wiseman has shown flashes of being a legit long-term center that is impactful. I also think he still shows signs that had me worried when he was drafted. However, that's okay. It's understandable to still see his flaws on tape, even though it's technically his third year in the NBA. One, third-year NBA players still have flaws on tape. Second, this is the first time he's probably gotten consistent minutes over a 10-plus game stretch since he was 17 years old. You have to factor in that injuries and lack of playing time at game speed reps has slowed his development compared to most other players in year 3 of their NBA career. And I do think being able to play through mistakes and NBA level consistently is the best thing to ever happen to Wiseman. Long term, this could be a real benefit if he does learn from the mistakes he plays through. You can call this just a product of getting more minutes and opportunity, but at the same time, it's a good thing to see him get more minutes and opportunity, because that's important for development. I'm not here to say he'll live up to being the second overall pick, or that he's going to be the best center in the NBA in 2 or 3 years. What I am saying is that Wiseman has already shown that he has the tools to be an NBA caliber center, and he's finally in a situation that allows him to consistently develop into that potentially. I don't think it's wild to believe that Wiseman can be a starting caliber center in the NBA as a play finisher and shot blocker. He's too tall, too big, and too athletic to not believe he has that potential. The tools are evident, and he finally gets an opportunity to develop at the NBA level with game speed reps. I don't know what the future holds for James Wiseman, but based off these 11 games, he has proven something to me. There is an NBA player in James Wiseman. Will he develop into that NBA player and become a long-term starting center for years to come? Only time will tell, but the signs are there. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, I'm notified whenever I release a video. I'm making videos about basketball all the time, so if you enjoy basketball, I really think you would enjoy this channel, and doing both of those things would mean a lot to me because it helps me out a lot in the YouTube algorithm, helps more people find my videos, and helps me grow as a channel so I can make more content for you guys consistently in the future. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below as well about James Wiseman. Do you think that Wiseman can be this great player still? Do you think he could be a starter? Do you think he could be an all-star? Do you think it's over for him? We'll love to hear all of that in the comment section below. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.